Good morning, class of 2023. Welcome to today's lecture. The topic for today is dental caries. In today's part, we are going to discuss the following. So, the learning outcomes for this topic would be that at the end of topic 1 and topic 2, we should be able to describe and illustrate the etiopathogenesis of dental caries. We should also be able to explain the microbiology of dental caries, and we should also be able to detect dental caries clinically and radiographically. So in today's topic, that is part 1, we will be discussing the outcomes, that is the first and the second one. So before we understand dental caries in detail, let us begin with the definition. So a definition for any pathology or any particular lesion as such is what describes it completely and effectively. So for dental caries, it has been defined as an irreversible infectious microbial disease affecting the hard tissue portion of the tooth, which is exposed to the oral cavity, characterized by demineralization of inorganic components and destruction of organic components resulting in cavitation. So the definition here says that dental caries is an irreversible condition. That means once a caries has set in, it is difficult to reverse it back to the normal state. The second term, infectious, that means it is a microbial disease. So without any microorganisms, caries is not possible. Affecting the hard tissue. So dental caries is a hard tissue lesion that is related to the tooth, which is a hard tissue. So if there is no tooth, there will be no dental caries. Fine. So caries is characterized by demineralization of inorganic components. That is, there is loss of the calcium salts or calcium content from the surface of the tooth. That is the inorganic components, which will be followed by destruction of organic components. If you remember the topic of odontogenesis, you have learned that it involves the deposition of an organic matrix, which is then followed by demineralization. In the case of enamel, the organic matrix is minimal. However, in caries, there is both demineralization of the inorganic component and destruction of the organic component of the tooth, such that there is formation of cavity. So you will have formation of cavitations. Okay, an alternate definition for dental caries may also be defined as a bacterial disease of the calcified tissues of the teeth, characterized by demineralization of the inorganic and destruction of organic substance of tooth. This is a similar definition, but is more simplified, and it just talks about the demineralization and the destruction of organic component of the tooth. So with this understanding, we will further discuss the pathogenesis of dental caries. So for caries to happen, we should have three components primarily. First is the presence of dietary carbohydrates. The regular food we consume are all having karyogenicity to certain levels. Some food are more karyogenic, whereas some are less. Second factor which involves in the pathogenesis of dental caries are the karyogenic bacteria. The normal oral cavity has numerous microorganisms, among which many organisms have the potential to cause caries. How do they cause caries? That is by the fermentation of these dietary carbohydrates to form acids, organic acids, which will result in demineralization and destruction of the tooth. So this brings us to the final factor, which is involved in the etiopathogenesis of dental caries, that is the tooth. If there is no tooth, then there is no dental caries. This we have discussed in the definition as well. So the three important components or related to etiopathogenesis of dental caries would involve dietary carbohydrates, karyogenic bacteria, and tooth. So this is a Keyes triad, which is quite a popular description for describing the pathogenesis of dental caries, which suggests that caries is a multifactorial disease. So there has to be a overlap of various factors for caries to occur. So according to the Keyes triad, the three main components which are required for caries to happen are: one, microflora, that is the presence of microorganisms, the karyogenic microorganisms to be more specific. These microorganisms need some substrate. So the substrate in this case is the dietary carbohydrates. The karyogenic microorganisms cause fermentation of the dietary carbohydrates to result in organic acids. Finally, as we discussed already, for caries to occur, there has to be a hard tissue component, that is the tooth. So the tooth and other factors related to the tooth are formed under the host factors. So there has to be a overlap of all these factors simultaneously for caries to occur. So this is what has been described under the Keys triad. But still, the Keys triad is not giving complete clarification as to how caries occurs. This is because each one of us individuals will have microorganisms in our oral cavity. We will also consume dietary carbohydrates, and we also have tooth and other related factors in our oral cavity. So we will definitely have an overlap of all these three factors, but still we do not have dental caries. Why? Because we are missing the fourth important component, the most important this one, which is finally resulting in dental caries. So this has been described by the fourth factor involved in the etiology of dental caries, that is the fourth component, which is the time. So this has been this is the Keys triad which has been modified by Newburn. So this involves the basic three components as described before, that is the microorganisms, the tooth, the food, or microflora, host, or substrate. So in addition to the overlap of these factors have to overlap for a considerable amount of time. Then only caries will occur. So that this explains why all individuals will not have caries, whereas some individuals will have caries, or some individuals have more caries as compared to other individuals having less incidence of caries. So the fourth factor is what determines this, that is time. So for individuals who are constantly consuming sticky food or carbohydrates, have a longer period of overlap of the other three factors resulting in caries. However, people who consume less frequently these carbohydrates, or people who have good salivary production, will have less incidence of dental caries. So the fourth factor, that is the time, is the most important factor in the description of pathogenesis of dental caries. So if you are to discuss the pathogenesis of dental caries, you have to discuss the Keys triad with the fourth factor, that is the time. I hope this is clear for you. Okay, some other additional component we need to consider while determining the pathogenesis of dental caries. This has been described by the acidogenic theory of dental caries. The acidogenic theory has been given by Miller. So the findings has been based on the findings of the experiments conducted by W.D. Miller, who conducted a series of experiments. So he found out that dietary carbohydrates in the oral cavity are fermented by karyogenic bacteria. These karyogenic bacteria are going to result in acid production. So these are basically organic acids like lactic acids and other organic acids. These are weak acids in nature, but they have the capacity to cause demineralization of the tooth surface. As you can see here, the acids will contact the surface of the tooth and result in leaching out of calcium salts. So the tooth is basically composed of hydroxyapatite crystals, which when exposed to organic acids following fermentation by karyogenic bacteria is going to be dislodged from the surface of tooth. So when this process continues for a prolonged duration of time, this causes cavitation. That is the final result, that is dental caries. So this formation of caries is basically dependent on the pH of the oral cavity. So the pH of the oral cavity in other terms can also mean the pH of the saliva, because saliva is the fluid which is present within the oral cavity. So under normal conditions, the saliva has a neutral pH, that is above 6 or 7. 7 will be the neutral value. So it will have a neutral pH, and during incidence of eating carbohydrates, following consumption of such carbohydrate rich food, The karyogenic bacteria cause fermentation and then result in formation of acids. As and when the acids are produced, the pH of the oral cavity starts falling down to a lower value. So when it falls to a particular level, the demineralization process begins and it is continued for a sustained time, and this pH is called the critical pH. So the critical pH is when the dental caries process actually begins. So the value for critical pH is 5.5. So this is the Stephens curve, which is also correlated to the acidogenic theory of dental caries as described by Miller. So the acidogenic also suggests that caries is caused by multiple non-specific bacteria in the plaque, which ferments the refined carbohydrates to produce acid that demineralize the tooth enamel. So this is the same thing that we have discussed. So the findings of this experiment, as mentioned, is also characterized by the Stephens curve. In the graph, you can see that the pH is neutral at one point of time, and following the consumption of sugar or dietary carbohydrates for that matter, the pH of the oral cavity starts decreasing. So it falls within the first few minutes below 5.5, that is the critical pH, and you can see that the pH is well below critical pH for around 15 to 20 minutes. So immediately after food, there is a certain amount of time when the pH is below the critical pH. It is this pH at which caries occurs. So the longer this duration, the longer the chances of person having caries. So you can correlate this factor also to the fourth factor of the Crease triad, which suggests why time is the most important factor for causation of dental caries. So when discussing that, we can also discuss about critical pH and also the acidogenic theory in relation to Stephens curve as well. So the hydroxyapatite crystals occurs, they are leaching out at a certain acidic pH, as we have described. This is called the critical pH. So the critical pH can also be described as a pH at which the solution is just saturated with respect to a particular mineral. So I would say this is the description, the technical description for critical pH, that the critical pH is the pH at which a solution is just saturated with respect to a particular mineral. So for hydroxyapatite crystal, this is somewhere around 5.5 to 6. We consider this at 5.5. So basically, why different individuals have different forms of caries? This is because of the caries balance. So for caries to happen, we should have the bacteria, less amount of saliva, and more dietary carbohydrates, whereas each individual has protective factors as well in the form of saliva, also having antibacterial agents, the presence of fluoride in the hydroxyapatite crystals, also the presence of effective diet. So this varies from person to person. The pathological factors will also vary, and a balance of this is what results in different levels of caries in different individuals. So discussing the different factors of caries, first we'll begin with the substrate. So for caries to occur, as discussed, we should have a karyogenic substrate. So various studies have suggested that there is a direct relationship between fermentable dietary carbohydrates and dental caries. So more the presence of dietary carbohydrates, especially the ones rich in sucrose, there is a higher chance of caries. Sucrose is the most significant karyogenic substance in our diet. That is because it can be readily fermented by the plaque bacteria. So you have to remember that we are discussing about plaque bacteria. We'll come to that in the next few slides, that why plaque bacteria is important. Sucrose, which is present in the diet, is converted into extra and intracellular glucans. So the breakdown product of sucrose is intra and extracellular glucans, which is formed by the bacteria, and these are later fermented by plaque bacteria into acids. So as and when we understand the pathogenesis, we will realize that sucrose and its breakdown products, that is intra and extracellular glucans, are the most important components for causation of caries. So it is also caries is also dependent on the manner and form of carbohydrate consumed. So the ones which are more rich in sucrose, the ones which are more sticky in nature are more cariogenic as compared to diet which are less rich in sucrose, or they are more natural fibrous forms, are less cariogenic. Care is also is dependent on the frequency of consumption of carbohydrates. This we have discussed in the pathogenesis under the Keys diet with the fourth factor, that is time is an important factor. So frequency, the more frequently we consume cariogenic food or food for that matter, the higher chances we have of getting dental caries. So people who have frequent in between meals have a higher chance, whereas people who do not have frequent snacking habits will have a less chance of caries. Moving further, xylitol is an artificial sweetening agent which we can find in various food substances now, especially in confectionaries or candies, because the xylitol is considered to be a anti-caries or caries-free substance. Xylitol is basically a artificial sweetener, and it is not fermentable by cariogenic bacteria. Xylitol also causes less buildup of plaque on the tooth, and when consumed in chewing gums, it stimulates salivary production. So all these factors make it an essential anti-caries component. So I urge everyone to know about xylitol a little bit so as to be able to answer in questions asked later. Okay, in addition to the karyogenicity as related to the component of food, the pH of the food can also determine its role in caries. So some food like beverages, carbonated beverages are more acidic in nature, and these can also contribute to some form in causation of caries. So the more the acidic, the higher chances of caries formation. So in addition to the role of carbohydrates, let's now shift our focus on the role of bacteria. So the oral cavity is a colony for numerous bacterial species, of which some or more are cariogenic in nature. What do you mean by cariogenic? Cariogenic is the capacity of the bacteria to ferment any dietary carbohydrate, resulting in acid production, which can cause cavitation. So any bacteria which can do this is known as cariogenic in nature. So cariogenic bacteria are a chief constituent of dental plaque. I hope everyone have studied about dental plaque before and are aware of what it is. Dental plaque is nothing but an organic biofilm which is formed on the surface of a erupted tooth. So it is an invisible film which is generally seen more commonly in the cervical 1/3 of the crown, and on the proximal surfaces we will have less thickness of dental plaque on the smooth surface, but in areas which are not self cleansible there will be some formation of dental plaque. Fermentation of sugars and carbohydrates occurs by these bacteria, and the breakdown products are taken up by the plaque as well. So this results in organic acids, drop of the pH of saliva below the critical level, and causes demineralization of tooth. So this is how the bacteria causes demineralization of tooth. So when we discuss the role of bacteria, we also should understand the role of plaque. So plaque, as we mentioned, is a biofilm, and it is basically derived from salivary mucins and extracellular polysaccharide polymers. So when the carbohydrates are broken down into polysaccharides, that is glucans and fructans, these components along with mucins form this invisible layer on the surface of tooth. On this invisible layer, the cariogenic microorganism starts to colonize. So the organisms are basically closely adherent to the surface of the tooth. So there is a synergistic relationship with the tooth. And as discussed, the dietary sugars will diffuse to the plaque and are fermented by the organisms, which results in acid production. Since these are closely approximated with the tooth surface, they result in demineralization, which is followed by cavitation. In the image, you can see that there are numerous carious cavities present in relation to the cervical surface of the incisors and the canine as well. The maxillary incisor and canine shows dental caries. That is because this area is where the plaque buildup is the maximum. So maintenance of good oral hygiene is also an important factor in removal of plaque and hence preventing caries. This is a illustration, simple illustration of the same process. On the left hand side, you can see that under normal healthy conditions, there will still be a plaque which will still have a level of microorganisms in it, but there is a balance maintained within it. But on the right hand, you can see that when it causes carious lesion, there is an imbalance. That is because of the increased dietary carbohydrates, which results in increased formation of glucans and intracellular and extracellular glucans, which results in more colonization of bacteria. So more bacteria means more production of acids, organic acids, which will further result in cavitation. So the right hand side shows formation of smooth surface caries on the tooth and also the root caries because of dental plaque. So plaque is an important component for formation of caries. To summarize the microbiology, the oral cavity has various cariogenic bacteria. The chief ones are Streptococcus mutans. Streptococcus mutans is the most significant cariogenic bacteria, so we should always mention about Streptococcus mutans when discussing the microbiology of caries. Other than that, we have Streptococcus mitis, Streptococcus sanguis, salivarius, Lactobacillus species, Actinomyces species. We should also discuss and be able to describe the role of Streptococcus mutans in causation of caries in certain detail. We should also be aware of something called as pioneer bacteria. As discussed before, the caries process is caused by numerous microorganisms which are cariogenic, which cause fermentation of teeth. So in this, there are certain group of species which basically initiates the process of caries. So such bacteria are referred to as pioneer bacteria, and once the caries process has initiated, these are taken over by some other species. They are known as the late colonizers. So the pioneer bacteria for enamel caries is Streptococcus mutans. For dentin, it is Lactobacillus acidophilus, and for root caries, it is Actinomyces viscosus. In addition to this, we have to understand two additional terminologies, that is acidogenicity and acidurity. So acidogenicity means capability of a cariogenic microorganism to produce organic acids. So any bacteria which can result in acid production is acidogenic. Moving further, there is another term, that is aciduric. The property is called aciduricity. This is applicable for those microorganisms which have the capacity to produce acids, but at the same time they can also survive in an acidic environment. So not all acidogenic microorganisms may be aciduric, but all aciduric organisms are acidogenic. So the virulence of aciduric organisms is more. So generally the late colonizers will be aciduric, wherein these will be able to survive the acidic microenvironment and contribute to more production of acid, resulting in further cavitation of the tooth. So we need to be able to discuss all these factors when describing the microbiology of dental caries. So this is a illustration, simple illustration showing the formation of caries. As you can see, the first image which has been magnified to show the surface of the tooth having an acquired pellicle. This pellicle will give rise to formation of plaque. The plaque will have various species of microorganisms, including the Streptococcus and the Actinomyces species. These are the initial bacteria which are the pioneer bacteria, which will result in acid formation and initial caries process. Once this is there, later the Lactobacillus and Fusobacterium and Spirochetal species are further taking over as the acidic organisms and result in further acid production and resulting in caries cavity production. So when it comes to caries of the crown of the tooth, there are basically two forms broadly. One is the pit and fissure caries. This occurs at the base of the narrow pits and fissures on the surface of the posterior tooth. In addition to that, we have proximal caries, which occurs generally on the smooth surface. Smooth surface caries can also occur on the commonly on the cervical surface of tooth. Both these forms of caries are related to the formation of dental plaque, which will have the cariogenic microorganisms, which will give rise to the caries on the tooth. Finally, discussing the host factor, that is tooth. There are various alterations or certain factors in relation to the tooth which can also contribute to a increased incidence of caries. These are basically described under three headings. First being the composition of tooth, second the morphology of tooth, and third the position. So these three factors comes under the host factor which contributes to the caries process. So to begin with the composition, some people have teeth which are more resistant to acidic demineralization, whereas some tooth are less resistant. This is basically related to the presence, the composition, ionic composition of the tooth. As you must be aware that it is recommended that we used fluoridated toothpaste so that it makes the tooth more protective. The reason is that the presence of fluoride ions in the during the development phase of tooth results in conversion of the hydroxyapatite crystals of the tooth into something called as fluor hydroxyapatite or fluorapatite, which makes the tooth more resistant to acidic degradation. So presence of fluoride ion should be in the optimal condition. If it is more, also it is harmful to the tooth. So presence of fluorapatite is an important component which makes the tooth resistant to caries. In addition to this, the caries also depends on the morphology of the tooth. Posterior teeth are more susceptible to caries. That is because these teeth have deep pits and fissures and grooves, which are basically food retentive areas. So there is a prolonged contact of food on this posterior tooth with such deep pits and fissures. Such teeth are also more prone to formation of plaque. As we discussed before, the plaque is where the microorganisms are colonizing and which are firmly adherent to the tooth. So based on this, the caries process, chances of caries process increases on such tooth with complicated morphology. So based on various studies, it has been found that the mandibular first molar is the tooth which is most commonly affected with caries. This is followed by the maxillary first molar, followed by the mandibular second molars, and then by the mandibular third molars. Mandibular incisors and canines are the least likely to develop caries. That is because these do not have a complex anatomy. At the same time, these are in the visible area, so we tend to keep the teeth more clean, especially the anterior teeth, and hence these teeth are less susceptible to caries. Finally, another important factor is the presence of malocclusion. The presence of crowding or such factors which results in tooth being not aligned properly results in various surfaces of the tooth being non self cleansing or makes it difficult to clean such areas, and such areas are more susceptible to plaque buildup and then result in the formation of caries. In addition to these factors, these three factors of tooth, an additional host factor is also very important, that is the saliva. In our basic oral biology or oral histology topics, we have studied about saliva in detail, and we know that saliva has various functions. We know that saliva has antibacterial, antifungal, and wound healing, buffering, teeth mineralization, and food digestion, various processes. In relation to caries, we have to concentrate on the two main important factors, that is the buffering capacity and tooth mineralization, as well as the antibacterial. So the antibacterial role of saliva is what keeps the number of cariogenic microorganisms in check. Also, the saliva is composed of various buffering agents like bicarbonates and phosphate ions, which basically result in neutralizing any acidic pH present in the saliva. So it is the saliva which basically neutralizes the acidic pH after any consumption of meal, and if the salivary production is less, it causes the buffering capacity to reduce, resulting in an overall acidic pH in the oral cavity. Also, it should be remembered that the saliva has the calcium ions freely available, which can help in the remineralization of the tooth. Even though the definition of dental caries suggests that caries is an irreversible process, however, the initial few demineralization can be reversed if the saliva is rich in calcium ions and the pH is well maintained above the neutral pH, then probably it can result in remineralization. However, if the process is prolonged for a long duration wherein the acidic pH is prolonged, then there is demineralization. So saliva to some extent can result in the tooth remineralization. And so you can draw a schematic diagram to represent this, the balance of acid production and balance of pH and the capacity of saliva uh, to basically maintain the balance between remineralization and demineralization. So to summarize, these are the various factors of saliva which serves as the host factor and which helps in protecting the oral cavity or the tooth from the caries process. So to summarize this topic for today, caries is a multifactorial etiology, and it is basically caused by the biofilm formation, also described as the plaque, which comes under the microbiological factors. Then we have the dietary sugar, which comes under the substrate. Then we have the role of host. So all these factors overlapping over a period of time will result in caries. Another two minor factors can be added. These are socio-economic factors or genetic environmental factors. These are nothing but a sub-factor of the various factors under which may come under dietary sugar or under the host factor. So the people from low socio-economic status may have a, a less refined diet, or such cases may also result. Actually, caries may also occur in of society from the high socio-economic status, because it depends basically on the consumption of food. So these two factors are not that important but may be considered, but when discussing the pathogenesis we should concentrate on these three forms, that is the host, substrate and microorganisms. So I hope everything is clear for this topic. Any further discussions we will discuss along with the histopath discussion, and we'll clarify the doubt during the face-to-face discussion. So see you soon until next lecture. Any doubts, please post it on the Google Classroom so that we can continue the discussion further. Thank you.